And here someone is asking questions about the groups and the groups of service, and about the entrance of new souls in a group of service. Yes, we would have to keep groups very open, because the introduction of new souls could be very healthy, so that the group may not be congestionated, so that the group may not be too closed, so that the group may have new opportunities of other relationships. And what we should be attentive to is not with the introduction of new souls, but rather with dispersion, with our lack of concentration in the group, and also with the dispersion of energy and activities. The groups should also watch in order not to become stagnant in a certain contentment for the work they are carrying out. Because oftentimes in a group, we recognize that the group is being carried out, we recognize that things are working out in a certain harmony, and it is necessary to be very careful so that we are not pleased with this, because there is always something to evolve. So when everything is very well in a group, so it's great for us to evolve, not for us to be well as it is. Otherwise, we become stagnant and we enter inertia. So when a group is very well, very regular, everything is working well, very well, they are about to enter inertia. So it's necessary for us not to be content with the state in which we are, but to always look for perfecting things. And this contentment, that is to say, this inertia, there is this transmitted, and the group has this group attitude sometimes, and this impedes new souls who are looking for more intense rhythm to introduce themselves there. So it's necessary for us to be very careful, for us never to think that we have reached a good point, because there is no limit for us to evolve and take steps. There are many sectors of service on earth that are in course functioning, that have been, and that need to be deepened into. Because when we reach a point of balance, so this is the correct moment for us to deepen into the work, for us to deepen into the contact and the vibration of the work. And we would have to perceive these updates that we have to do, and we have to express these updates, not to do this always in our consciousness. The update has to express itself in work. It has to express itself in that which the work produces, because this stimulates a collective development. This must not happen in a group if we do not have the intention of transforming ourselves. So it's not only the danger of being content with the work that is being carried out. It's also the danger of getting accommodated in the point where we are. So we must always look for transformation in ourselves, and with this the group always transforms itself. It is also necessary not to be in a hurry, not to be anxious for becoming perfect, adequate, very quickly, because this is not like this, right? Things have their rhythm, and a step that we may want to take as a group that is anticipated, that the group is not ready for this also disturbs a lot. So there is no hurry, and things should not be too slow either. Things should be done in the adequate moment. at the right moment, not be in a hurry and not be too slow. This is very important. It is traditional that human beings are proud of that which they are doing, of the group they are part of, to be proud of themselves, because they are seeing that they are persisting on the path. And this pride is very traditional in human beings. Pride seems to be the quality that accompanies us to the end. It diminishes, but it's always present, in such a way that we go through many things out of pride, and many things happen with us to redimension our pride. The pride is always present until the end, in such a way that it is an illusion to think that we are not proud, because pride accompanies us to the end. In such a way that when there is an intention for the higher self to work on us, the higher self works on us directly on pride. And then we feel directly touched. And with this, the pride is redimensioned. It never disappears, but it goes to a bearable level. So naturally, human beings position themselves before eternal laws, before that which is superphysical, before knowledge, with pride. That is to say, knowledge presents itself, laws begin to show themselves, to emerge, and in a proud way, human beings do not take care of this, do not deepen into this. This is one of the manifestations of pride. And we have seen many times when pride takes over a group or a great number of beings, we have seen what happens, right? We have seen this in many episodes, historical episodes that are in the Bible, etc. And also in group, mainly, we should be attentive to the right use of free will, mainly when we are in group, because in a group, we are influencing other people. A decision that the group makes influences everyone. So this is something that of responsibility. And in a group, we should be very careful so that we may not use free will without looking for a higher inspiration in our own soul, within our own beings. Because what is decided in group has a much greater responsibility than when we decide as individuals, because in a group we affect everyone. So it's necessary to use free will here, because this is a gift that has been given to humanity, and it is necessary for us to always look for a sign and inspiration on higher levels, which is within ourselves, where we look for this. And when a group is doing this work, everyone together, when everyone or the majority is doing this work before a decision that has to be made, things happen very calmly and in a very correctly. Human beings do not obtain clarity or precise understanding about what is supposed to be done or steps that have to be taken, because they do not ask for their higher levels. They put things as things come to the minds, as needs present themselves, but without having this consultation, without stop for a while to look within or in the higher levels if this is really what is supposed to be done. And this should be worked out very much in groups. So in a group like the groups that are being formed here in Lighthouse of the Hill and others, the main thing is that things are not only decided mentally, or that things are not only decided only with the experience of resolving things, because all of us have a certain experience. So the tendency is resolving things according to our own experience, or in group, everyone in the same point. When before a situation, if the force of the group looks for an inner elevated solution, the group works with much more security. In the face of the chaos of the current situation, the present time, so these aspects, these precautions are very important, because in a chaotic situation like this reflection, this group reflection in the face of subjects, this silence before resolving something, this distances many dangers of disharmony because in a group something mental is imposed. A great part of the group is not in harmony with that, and then a disharmony begins. The harmony in the group is not when people are educated, polite, when people have the law of silence worked out. All of this is basic, but only this does not bring harmony. What brings harmony is that everyone, or the great majority, is connected, really looking for solutions internally, and if possible, in group. Only when we make a contact, however simple it may be, with these levels beyond the personality, is that we are apt, as a group, to manifest the evolutionary plan, because otherwise we will be doing social work, we will be doing philanthropic charity work. It's enough that we gather and these things begin to happen. But works that really manifest the evolutionary plan for a sector of life, this needs the group to be working on this contact, to be working on this alignment with higher and impersonal planes. And then an expansion of consciousness begins, really. And the expansion of consciousness in a group could be much greater than the individual expansion of consciousness, because the strength of the group, many souls enter in this group, in such a way that we have a great evolutionary opportunity when we are in group. But we should be careful so that within the group we do not let ourselves be taken by our personal things, by our personal states. We have certain rooted personal states, that come through atavism from different incarnations that can only be dissolved in our being with group life. But not only group life in the material, external sense of the term, because the energy that is developed in the group, the healing energy that is developed in a group that is aware of these keys, causes certain atavic things, certain things that individually cannot be healed, may be resolved through the strength of the group. That is to say, with the union of the whole group doing the same work, in such a way that when a group gathers, a group that claims to be spiritual, this group is working on these things in reality. The external work is the one that is necessary. So if souls are going to make a group here on earth in a certain region and a certain place, a certain time, of course this will have an external activity that corresponds to the need of that time. But souls are not gathering for this. Souls are gathering to do the work that we are seeing. This is what souls gather for, so that in group they may have more strength, not only to dissolve individual problems, that sometimes are not simple to be resolved, and also to resolve collective works. But this is one of the keys of the work in group, of a working group. And the consciousness of this begins to attract the situation, begins to attract this, and the expansions of consciousness will come naturally. We don't need to be very attentive and searching what expansion of consciousness we are having. We have to be attentive and be in our best level, to be searching for our higher planes and be doing this in group. Everyone in the group should have this awareness. This is a good group. It's not only a group that works in harmony, that produces and does everything. No, this is not a spiritual group. This is a social, philanthropic work, material groups that we know. But the expansion of consciousness is the true work that souls are doing when they are in a group. And of course, if this group is like this, gathered like this and united like this, of course this group will begin to have contact with other beings, other groups, and they will be an element of healing for these people. They will work as messenger, as a messenger of the situation, of the state of this work. There are things, even these that we are mentioning now, which are known just by a minority. So generally, group do not even dream about these things. They are gathered, they want to do their work, they want to organize themselves, they have their human and external goals. So these things are not, so many people are not aware of this. Not many people are aware of this. If we have the opportunity of making the whole group aware, this is very beneficial, because then everyone is awake to this true work, and those who are more open to this, those who have more opportunity of updating this, begin to update and introduce this. Other things, other keys, other needs become clear. And if everyone is looking for this inner contact, whatever are the other stages that come from the group, they will have the possibility of resolving it. They will contact on the inner level of the group everything that are the keys for them to work upon. The planet is to be found in a situation that would be very good if groups of service, if conscious groups, if it's spiritual groups were in this tune. So the first thing is that I do not bring my problems to within the group, and that I may not distract myself and waste time with my things inside of the group. We should have this very clear. But once this union is carried out, the work is not to resolve the group problem. The work is that everyone is at the highest level possible. So, because then problems become weak, or they distance themselves, or naturally are naturally resolved. It would be a waste of energy that a spiritual group is resolving problems, horizontal problems of human level or personal level. It would really be a lost opportunity, because souls are there with a different intention. Souls are there with a different possibility, a different energy, a different task. But for us to begin to feel this and apply this in the task we are in charge of, which could be any, we could even change our task in the middle of the way, but the important thing is that this is being worked on. This is the fundamental work of the group, and then other things will be clarified as they appear. The world situation is becoming ever more critical from many standpoints. And of course, even if in a group there is no critical situation from the material standpoint, the psychic critical situation is planetary in such a way that there is no one outside of this critical state, because the planetary psychic plane is in this. And as this becomes graver, we will need to perfect this relationship with our inner worlds in group. Because with things that are taking place not only outside, such as this global warmth and all of this that you know that I don't need to say here, but also imbalance, disharmony on the psychic plane should always be present, and that we may work this group elevation as a priority, this work of union with our own inner plane, so that everything that is taking place on the planet today may not affect the order of the group, the harmony of the group. A group that organizes itself in this way, any task they have will be harmonious, will take place in the right way, will take place with harmony. And at a certain point, the souls that form this group will contact other souls on the plane of souls, and then the group will become stronger. The group will begin to work internally, innerly. So let us say there is a group of souls doing a certain work in a certain region of the earth. If this work takes place in a higher level of the group, this group begins to contact other groups internally. And this network could not be known on the physical plane. Very rarely we know the groups that work with us. If there is someone very attuned with this reality in a group and in another also, you could discover that these groups work together. But we do not always know which group we are working with, because this takes place on the plane of souls. And today there are groups not only on the physical plane, but there are also groups of souls that are disincarnated. And if these groups make contact with these other groups of disincarnated souls, then the group work expands a lot, really expands a lot. We have, on this planet, we have beings who have extraterrestrial energy. We have beings who shelter an intraterrestrial terrestrial energy. And we have beings who shelter this energy of the life on the surface. This begins to meet with one another internally. So very likely, in a group that is more evolved, in a group that is open to more advanced things, eventually it could happen that in that group someone will appear with an extraterrestrial energy. They are not extraterrestrial, but they could have a part of an extraterrestrial energy. Or it could also happen in a very harmonious group that someone is a bearer of intraterrestrial energy. They are not intraterrestrial, but they bear a certain intraterrestrial energy. When this is in a group, the whole group has to accommodate itself. There must be a accommodation. Because initially the group is used to earthly energy. The group is used to this energy of the surface. So if someone arrives on the group that bears this energy, this produces a true movement energetic movement and the experience that is being carried out in the more organized groups, in the more confirmed groups, the energy is being very careful, introducing elements that bring the intraterrestrial energy. This comes before the extraterrestrial energy. But when this comes, the group should have a foundation of union and harmony to be able to receive this energy. Because the extraterrestrial energy or the intraterrestrial energy in a human being on the surface is not very accountable human being. They have a different rhythm, they have a different timing, they have a different energy that touches certain spaces of ours. They touch certain centers of ours that earthly energy does not touch, the surface energy does not touch. So if we are in a positive, organized group, in the line that has been described, we should be open for these circumstances. And of course, if we are very well connected with our inner levels, if we are looking for this alignment, this inner alignment, we will recognize this energy if it comes. We will realize that there is a different energy there, that there is someone strange there, in very popular words. Someone strange, a weird person. It could be this. So it's necessary for us to be very attentive to our own alignment, to our own inner contact, because it will be necessary to adapt, to unite much more explicitly, because here we really need the strength of the group for all of this. And these experiences of energy of the race, of the intraterrestrial energy, the extraterrestrial races, are other energies, are not the same as the energy of the surface. But this could be within someone. Someone could bear this, and this person be introduced in the group with this. This is a donation, a giving, that the person, a giving of self, of their own soul, to bear a different energy of their soul, their monad. And there must be a very strong monad, a very strong soul, because besides being a bearer of a strange energy to the energy of the surface, they will have trouble with the people on the surface who are in a different energy. I'm not speaking of extraterrestrial among us or intraterrestrial among us. I'm speaking of human beings like us who bear the extraterrestrial or intraterrestrial energies. Now, the Lighthouse of the Hill that has proposed itself to so many brave works, let us say, new works, should prepare itself to these things so that we may not close doors to a special development, because there a special development begins. But I don't know, being willing to adapt ourselves, to change our energetic expression, to change our rhythm, to change our costumes, because all of this touches very much all of this. And here there is a question about what alchemists are. What we call an alchemist is someone who takes care of the relationship of the currents, of the flows of pure energy with materialized life. So it's necessary to have the spirit of an alchemist, so that you may be in a situation like the one that was being described. You need to have something of an alchemist to live in this alchemy, which is a flow of energy, a stream of energy that is oftentimes not material, Because if the individual is leading an extraterrestrial energy, it could be not material. If they are bearing an intraterrestrial energy, it could be not a material energy like the ones we are used to. And this alchemy is for us to be precisely building this relationship. And in alchemy, all of this has always been known. And nowadays it is reduced to chemistry, this chemistry that we work with. But this goes much beyond this material chemistry. And this alchemy was known by the ancient people as they stopped doing alchemy to do normal material chemistry, as they stopped to work with alchemy. All this capacity to deal with all these different energies becomes diluted. Many ancient people used to practice this alchemy. We are just resuming this on the plane of group energy. Some residue of this ancient alchemy, some leftovers of this, have entered modern chemistry. But modern chemistry restricted itself, limited itself to the dense and concrete aspects of substances. So today, someone who works with chemistry is looking for something concrete and doing their work there. While alchemy are also immaterial energies that enter there, subtle energies that you don't look for in the laboratory. You do not enter a laboratory to come to know, but you gradually contact as you open yourself for all these games of forces. The basis of all of this is that there is in the universe one only substance and one only energy. Some chemics are managing to see this in such a way that when we think that others are very different, when we feel that an intraterrestrial energy is very different from ours, this is ignorance. It is lack of realizing that the energy is only one and that there aren't many substances, that the substance is only one. And we perceive this, we feel this much more easily in group life, because group life becomes a true laboratory of these things, spiritual group life. We have a planetary center that we have known, which is Iberá. Iberá, which has its projection, etherical projection in a certain area of Argentina. Iberá is the center that has all the keys and all the knowledge for all these things that we are speaking about. So Iberá has all of this, and our work with Iberá is very important. The internal work with Iberá is very important. Iberá, which has the key for all these things, the key for all this alchemy, Iberá will begin to reveal this, will begin to show this in a coming cycle of the earth, in a coming cycle. But in group or individually, we can begin to enter into contact with this work of Iberá, to be in contact with this alchemy work which Iberá teaches us to do internally. And for us to enter into contact with this, you do not need to travel, you don't need to think about Iberá. You just know that this happens, you know that Iberá has the key, and you work on your aggressiveness. You try to keep yourself non-aggressive. this aggressiveness, this animal aggressiveness that we all have, this animal aggressiveness has to be worked on, controlled, cared for, because this aggressiveness, this mental aggressiveness, emotional aggressiveness, is what impedes us to be in contact with this instruction of Iberá, this knowledge of Iberá in the sense. And we also have as a goal everyone's good, the universal good, not the good of the group only. Is not the good of anyone or a personal good, but the universal good. This is for us to be in contact with this more explicit alchemy in daily life. Iberá, besides these alchemy keys for us, is working on the union of the material consciousness with the immaterial consciousness in us. Iberá is working on this union. And through Aurora, which is another planetary center that we should see today in a very special way, through Aurora, it makes this connection with us. Maybe Iberá does not make this connection with us directly, because Iberá deals with very strong fires, but Aurora could be an intermediary there. This is why in other times we led groups to the physical Aurora, because Aurora is that energy, that center, that if it is in tune, in attunement with us, and if we come closer to Aurora internally, Aurora leads us to Iberá, leads us to this hidden chemistry, this advanced chemistry that could begin to happen in us. And both Iberá as well as Aurora work on our matter, not as a formula that they apply, but they work on our matter, our material side, based on our essence, our inner essence. So both Aurora as well as Iberá, when they work with us, gradually mold our material, our physical work, etherical, physical, emotional, mental, soul material. They mold this material, they unite this material, which is matter, with our immaterial essence in such a way that is very important for us to have Aurora in mind, for us to have Iberá in mind. Some processes begin in us if we do this connection. Some processes begin in us. A process of purification, which is very basic. Now, for Iberá and Aurora, to begin a process of purification, this naturally happens through our inner world, our inner self. Our inner self is the one that knows in which points we should be purified at that moment. So our soul, our inner being, our inner nucleus, our essence, this is what enters in contact with Aurora. This is what enters in contact with Iberá through Aurora. And a work of purification in us begins, but it is a work of purification that we understand in a different way. We don't understand as people who are being purified and know that they are being purified and try to be purified in the best way. But this is a more subtle purification. And we, before this stimulation, before this process, should be very careful. We should be very impersonal, because we are gradually purified, sometimes consciously, and we are gradually purified, and we recognize certain aspects, negative aspects of ours that we did not know, which we didn't realize about. But when we begin to be purified in this way by Aurora, when we are purified in this way, our negative aspects become more evident. And here, because we have a very complicated psychology, when we work on ourselves and we find negative aspects of ours that we didn't know, reactions, this is because we are now seeing, we are finally seeing them. And this is part of purification. Now, before negative subtle aspects of ours, if we consider this to be a purification and if we let ourselves be purified, Aurora begins a work of transmutation of our energy. But before that, a work of purification is necessary. So you see how important so many purifying things that we may do, mainly in the field of simple food, simple habits, everything we have, we are aware that is purifying, we should embrace, adopt, because then the energy of Aurora will work with much more facility, much more easily, and Aurora will be able to enter the work of transmutation. Because an ancient part of ours that is austral, hereditary, that does not resolve with purification. However we may purify, this is so rooted, so old, that transmutation needs to enter there. Transmutation is a change in matter. It's more than purification. And when a work of transmutation begins, in certain moments we can even feel it, perceive it, then we are apt to a different work that Aurora also carries out in us. If we do a contact there, we create this thread, and then a work of transubstantiation begins. This is to say, our material is purified, it is transmuted, and then it can be transformed into a different material. This is hidden alchemy. That is to say, a hereditary work material of ours, a race material of ours that cannot be completely purified, that cannot be completely transmuted. Aurora has the possibility of transubstantiated, to change this into a different material. This is to say, you have a material that we have karmically brought, but Aurora transubstantiates this into something else. This is the alchemy of the planetary centers. None of us can reach this alchemy, but the planetary centers do this sort of alchemy. And in this point, besides being very careful with aggressiveness and doing all of this for the good of everyone, not to resolve our problem, our personal problem, but to resolve the problem of humanity in ourselves. This has to be very clear. While we are treating ourselves, we are far away from these things. So we are treating these things for humanity. We are resolving in ourselves a subject that belongs to all of humanity. This is very important for the transubstantiation of our material, for our material to be able to be transformed into others. Now, besides this, we would have to have our utilitarian tendencies to be already very forgotten, not to see usefulness in these things. Of course, if these things happen, this could be very useful for higher things, but I don't know if it is useful for things of this world. So we should be not non-utilitarians when we work on these things more profoundly, more consciously. And then our natural state of corruption, because our matter is a corrupted matter, so our current state of corruption is gradually transubstantiated into a different state, which from the standpoint of Aurora, from the standpoint of the energies which deal with this in Aurora, we call this a sublime state in us. Well, it is important for this group to be in contact with these things, because then it will elevate the level of interest of the group. And then the things that the group has to manifest externally, which seems to me that the group is manifesting to a certain point, what it is supposed to manifest internally will have a different quality. The substance of the food that you serve will have a different quality. It will be more exposed. It will be more adhering to those who eat that. The same way the medicines, procedures that you do, relationship you have, all of this will have a different quality. Once we asked the guardian of Aurora, who was incarnated in that time, we asked the guardian of Aurora if, knowing all these things, if we can fall again, if we can fall. And he answered that we have to be careful. He was very telegraphic. He spoke very little. He didn't say yes or no. He just said that we have to be careful, that we should be always ready to be careful, and that it is useless for us to be good out of pressure, for being pressured out of a necessity, neither when we are being threatened by something that obliges us to be better, but rather that we should be good because we are good, not because we are making an effort or because we need to carry out this transformation, but because we are like this. So it is good for us to see this from distance. This is a point we will reach in a different stage, but it's good to see this in the horizon, because for now we are working on this nucleus, we are working on the lighthouse of the hill, we are working in group, really aiming to certain things as we have seen, but we will reach a moment, and those who are close to this moment should begin to carry this out without waiting for others. And we should just do this for doing. We should be good for being good. We should not think that we are improving and that, no, just be good for being good. We have to reach this point. And this is what could resolve imbalance deeply. This is what resolves imbalance. This is to say, when you improve for improving, nothing else, without any other preoccupation. Some people manage to realize this, to make a bridge with this. They need no reason to work on ourselves. We have many reasons to work on ourselves. Reasons to transform ourselves, to transform our bodies, these not subtle things, but really have to reach the point to transform ourselves just for transformation, and that's it. And this is something that Aurora transmits to us when we enter this path, in such a way that we should work subtly on these things. We should have these keys of work so that we may really do the whole external work we are supposed to do everything we are supposed to do, being open to this whole work of Aurora, so that the healing work and the work of inner healing may be expanded, which facilitates the contact with many laboratory vessels, healing vessels that are working on the planet, which are around the planet.